Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the DX9 Dark Samurai. This is their take, well, it's actually just a recolor of the Sideswipe, and it's the third color variation of that Sideswipe. And here we go. So there's three of them now in existence. And they included extra parts. It looks a little bit different. It's not just a repaint, but you can just make it look like a standard one. There's that option too. But we'll get into looking at all this, talking about all this, and explaining all this. But I did get this from Shozi's store. I'm going to have a link down below where you can get yours too. And if you put TH and support the reviewer on the main page, or pretty much any page that says has that box at the top, it helps the channel out when you go buy stuff over there. But anyway, we're going to get into taking a look at this guy, the good and bad, and tell you everything that I've gotten to know about this in the past hour. Let's get into taking a look at Dark Samurai. Coming up. Alright, here's the box, and it does feel like the DX9 style they kind of have with their packaging, and shows line art of both bot and car mode. Almost feels a little mask-esque there. Yeah, not much to the box. Alright, so here he is out of the packaging, and a pretty good looking black Lamborghini, I must say. I like the red on this for the color of the windows. That looks really cool. That really does work for the color scheme. And the stuff inside there, yeah, it's, I don't like the fact that you can see like all kinds of just kibble, internal kibble on it. That's not exactly something that I was in love with the first one, but it does look a little bit more with this, I don't know, like maybe it's an onboard computer. You can tell there's not a human in there, but it is what it is. But look at that shine, that sheen, that gleam from this. Looks really nice. I like that. And with that, the rims, they look very much like Lamborghini's rims. They look good. Same old stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff's going to be the same as the first one, except just different coloration. But it's nice to appreciate it in this form. And somewhere around here, I do have in the box somewhere the KO of the original one, but I'm not going to be digging that one out for this review. So we will do some comparisons to other things. But let's see here. I remember we do have the pop-up lights. If I can get that to work here. Pop them up. And we still have the pop-up lights situation going on. So that's nice to work with it. So not a whole lot in the alt mode to do, so let's just get into comparisons, and then we got a lot more to do in the bot mode. And here it is in comparison to MMC Sphinx, the Mastermind Creations, and version 2 of Lock. My usuals, I like to sub in the Fans Toys Spindrift 2.0 because still the winner, clear winner, is still X Transbots on that figure, and so that size and comparison. And of course we have to have the measuring stick for comparison. Pretty much any Masterpiece Optimus Prime works for a good measuring stick of a comparison for size. That works for me. Countach is not a very big vehicle. Alright, so here he is in his robot mode without any of his accessories on, and nice looking bot overall, of course, in a different color scheme than what we saw with the original Sideswipe that they made. And interesting things that they've done with him, which I'm going to point out, kind of all these little things that they have done with him. That is interesting, that I think they had planned a lot of this stuff, like to make the G2 version and to do a lot of this stuff originally on, but still pretty cool looking figure out the gate. And let's get him armored up a little bit, but first let's just take a quick look at some of the details, like this crazy face he's got going on here. Now I was wondering if you'd get a second head or a face. I don't see it anywhere that there's another face, so that's all I gotta say about that. Don't really see another face. And then there's some detail right here, some paint for the headlights, paint right there, paint on the knees. Feet are almost probably the exact same ones on the first release, die-cast, and yeah, but not really a whole lot else past that for any sort of paint with this guy. Accessories with this guy, borderline excessive. There's a lot, and you can't put it all on him at once. It's so you can have options, and you know the options, they of course are good, but looking at all this, he can be a standard release if that's what you want. We'll show that here in a second. But I think a lot of people are going to want this for whatever reason. I don't know, but in G2, like in the comics, was it like this? Where he has these spike balls, but you plug them into these tabs right there, which was much easier when I didn't have a camera for my face. And this one here, that's kind of an interesting take, which makes me kind of think like they had said, hey, this is kind of the route we're gonna go with the G2 early on. This is why we want to do the peg system like this. That's why we want to set it up like this. And then this is all ball jointed too on that. And then you get these swords, and they just go in his hand like normal. Yeah, you get the swords on him and the tires and a little something like this, a little pose. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Probably how I will display him, because I don't know if I just want him to be just Sideswipe in different coloration. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that about kind of Takara, and most of those were pretty much just different colors and mostly the same accessories, but we can still get him accessorized to be like a normal standard Sideswipe. And here he is, armored up like a normal standard Sideswipe. Here he does get two of these, and they extend, and they can come off, and you can use the pylons on his fists like we did with the first one. I'm going to try to link that first video for the transformation and for some of the details here that are just not really so pertinent with number 2. I don't think I ever pulled those out, though. I don't think I pulled those all the way out in the first one, but still pretty decent looking. There's his gun. I think it's a little brighter white than the first release, and I never got the second release because that's just too close to the same thing for me to be buying over and over again. But let's get an articulation and do comparisons, you call it. All right, head's on a ball joint, so it does all of the good ball joint stuff, and it holds pretty tight. You've got shoulder to almost the 90. Maybe we could cheat the 90, get the 90 out of it, but 360 bicep swivel, double jointed at the elbow, and he's got 4 fingers and an opposable thumb on 2 different points of articulation, waist swivel, severe ab crunch that does break up the sculpt a bit. We have opening up these hip flaps, so the back doesn't go very far, but not much more than you would need. 90 to the front, 90 to the side, thigh swivel, double jointed knee. Nope, knee only to there. Raw. And then foot, well, as we saw the transformation, well, no, we didn't see the transformation. It has a little bit there and a little toe up and down. That feels like transformation. If you want to break his leg, look like he broke his leg, or get a weird side stance, that'll work too. These are robots, not humans. They don't have to articulate like humans, but I think we all think they do in our minds. There's the articulation. All right, so here is a comparison to the first release. I don't have the second release because that was the Toon one they had, and this is the Takara. Couple things I want to point out. First of all, they have whites in the same spots. This has whites, but this one's red where this was black, and then black where this was red, and then black where this was red. So interesting how they did the swaps there. Pretty much everything that's red on this is black on this, and vice versa. Now, also I want to point out is that all of the whites on this are the same whites. The whites on this, we have like off-white on the arms and then bright white on the legs. I don't understand why they did that. That's strange. And it's more obvious now, but just interesting things I'm pointing out. And the head sculpt is different, and you don't get another option. So I guess you can go with kind of a Rekgar look here in a bit when we do that. But man, that Takara one, I never was a huge fan of. I thought it was too bulky, and it was like always on my list of what needs an upgrade. Well, we've got the upgrade, and this works. This is a massive upgrade to Takara. and I can see them repainting all the colors. I don't know if they're going to go all the way to like G. I think gold was G, like Takara did, but yeah, we're probably going to see a lot of repaints of this mold, and it's deserving of it. Alright, you guys probably feel like you deserve a little something special here, so let's give it to you. Let's get this adjusted a little bit better, but we've got Magic Square Prime, Fans Toys Prime / Ultra Magnus, and it's kind of fun to have both the Ultra Magnus in the Prime mode and in the Armored mode with that whole kit. But anyhow, there it is. That's how he scales. I do still feel like the Carbot's a little undersized, but that's a whole wheel that needs to be reinvented, and I don't want to go down that route and rebuy all that, so I'm just going to live with it and accept it, but there it is. So this is my look at Dark Samurai, and what do I think? I think that it is exactly the same thing we got before, but yeah, different with a different head sculpt, different accessories, and so you're getting more in the box, but you get a card. It's the only time I've ever seen them doing a card to cross-promote and sell all three others that they've already made, but also to say, hey, we had this all planned from the beginning to do the G2, to do the Toon and Toy, and maybe a gold, maybe the different colors, I don't know, but anyway, I like it. It's a good mold, it's a good figure. I'm happy to get it. I don't think I'm gonna get every color that they make, but definitely the G2 one is worth it, and with the extra parts and accessories, just makes it a little bit more interesting. Maybe not so much for me, but it's still very interesting that they included all that. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I did get this at Show Z Store. I'm going to have a link where you can go get this at Show Z for yourself, TH, and support the reviewer. Also, I'm going to try to link my first review so you can see my thoughts on just a standard figure. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, to Hanger out.